Hi, everybody. Hi, Björn.
Hey, Antoine.
Hey, I see you're already active in the chat. That's good.
I am. Someone has to take this, right?
Yeah, it's good it's you because I'm a lazy French. You know that now. But
Yeah. We already talked about that. Even arrogant sometimes, huh?
yeah. You cannot change your nature. So
Exactly.
jokes aside, we are very happy to have all of you here today. It's the usual chit chat. We take 1-2 minutes and then we go into the deep matter of it. I think our topic today is quite challenging. We'll be talking about the UN Sustainable Development Goals in general to start with, and then probably we have to narrow a bit further down on the SDG 6. So that is our topic for today. I don't want to spoil too much, so that's why I'm very cautious right now. But you'll see that we might lose some friends today. Hopefully not too much. So hello from around the world. I see USA, Canada, Italy.
Hey, welcome. Mahmoud, long time ago. Very good to have you here on board.
Okay, so you're having a private party now.
Yeah, private party. Very cool.
Oman, Germany. Well, it looks like it's really like the United Nations today.
Yes, and that's exactly our topic, right, Antoine?
Yeah. So tell me, shall we jump into it?
I think everybody's ready. We have more than 30 people on the show. The chat is working, so let's dive in.
So let's go. Are you tired of biased presentations that show you only one side of a story? Do you want to go to the bottom of all the hot water and wastewater challenges? Every month, Björn and Antoine take sides and fight over a topic. They might be over the top. You may even disagree with one or both of them, but you'll always have a chance to be vocal about it. In the end, one thing is certain. They will light a topic from every angle to make sure it is in plain sight for everyone. Are you ready to rumble? It's time for wastewater! So will we fight today, Björn? I'm not sure if we will directly fight you against me, but I'm pretty sure that we might be fighting against some...
At least a little bit. At least we will find something where we can argument against and maybe for the same. We have a special topic today, which is which affects all of us, right? The UN SDG goals, and especially which number?
I think it's number 6. But
are you sure?
SDG. Shall we maybe define that to start with? So let's
Sustainable Development Goals, my friend. Even you French guys should know that.
I was trying to make a smooth transition because we decided to open with a little video. So we'll have a look at the video to see what is this SDG, and then we take it from there. So let's go.
We can be.
We must be
the first generation
to end extreme poverty.
The generation
most determined
to fight injustice
and inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
And this is how it will get done.
The global goals.
A 15-year plan
For everyone, everywhere.
With no one left behind.
We will live in a world
where nobody,
anywhere, lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
goes hungry.
Where no one
wakes in the morning
asking if there will be food today.
We will live in a world where no child has to die
of diseases we know how to cure.
And where proper health care
is a lifelong right for us all.
We will live in a world where everyone goes to school.
And education gives us the knowledge
and skills
for a fulfilling life.
We will live in a world where all girls and all women have equal opportunities to thrive
and be powerful
and safe.
We cannot succeed if our world is held back.
We will live in a world
where all people can get clean water
and proper toilets
at home, at school, and at work.
We will live in a world where there is
sustainable energy for everyone.
Heat, light,
and power for the whole planet.
Without destroying the planet.
We will live in a world where economies prosper.
And new wealth
leads to decent jobs
for everyone.
And we will live in a world
where our industries
our infrastructure,
and our best innovations
are not just used to make money, but to make all our lives better.
We live in a world where prejudices and extremes of inequality are defeated.
inside our countries,
and between different countries.
Where people live in cities and communities
that are safe, progressive,
and support everyone who lives there.
Where we replace
what we consume.
Planet where we put back what we take out of the earth.
We live in a world that is decisively rolling back from climate
change.
Where we restore and protect the life in our oceans and seas. We'll restore and protect
life on land,
The forests,
animals, the earth itself.
With peace between and inside countries.
where all governments are open
And answer to us for what they do at home and abroad.
And the justice rules.
with everyone equal before the law.
where all countries and we their people,
Work together.
partnerships of all kinds,
To make these goals a reality.
These are the United Nations global goals
for sustainable development.
Let's get to work.
Yeah, all right. I think the message in the end was very clear. Let's get to work, right? So today's topic, we picked one SDG, which is number 6, and the number 6 means one thing: ensuring availability and sustainability, a management of water and sanitation for all until 2030. That is the goal for Goal 6. And today we would like to talk about what does it mean for our water industry? What does it mean for the responsibility we may have? What does it mean really? Is funding enough? And what to fund, right? And we want to give also some examples from the industry which doing good things to support that we reach Goal 6 by 2030. But I'm not sure that we will reach, but this maybe can answer now, Antoine.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we will not. I'm spoiling here the result. The thing is that Sustainable Development Goals didn't happen in a vacuum. It was built on the Millennium Development Goals that were supposed by 2015 to reach an improved level of sanitation and improved level of drinking water everywhere in the world. But it turned out that by 2015, those Millennium Development Goals were not reached. And so we had this even more ambitious target by 2030 to have several goals inside the SDG 6. And the first of them is the 6.1. And this 6.1 is all about drinking water. So let's take that first one. And if you look the path where we're in 2021, and that goal was set up in 2015. So we are 6 years in. And when we look the trajectory, so where we are landing, we see that 17% of the countries are in line with achieving that goal. But 72% of the countries will have some increase. It will be a bit better, but not yet to the goal. And 11% will simply be worse in 2030 than they were in 2015. So you see, it's not in line to happen. Now let's look at sanitation. And you'll see that in sanitation, the picture is even somehow worse, because in sanitation, we have 11% of the countries in line to achieve it, and 17% which are doing worse. So you have more countries that will be worse in 2030 than countries that achieve the goal. So clearly, I spoiled it. It's a no. We will not reach the goal by 2030. And why does that happen? And I imagine you, Björn, raising me that question. Why does that happen? And there's a simple rule to that. It's when you don't put the money where your mouth is, well, usually things don't happen. And if we were to achieve those goals by 2030, we would need $43 billion per year of investment in water, so drinking water for all, and we would need $69 billion a year in sanitation. So if you take that, that's what we would need. But what we really spend for those two together worldwide is 16 billion. That means that we have a 7 factor between what we spend and what we should spend to achieve it. How can we correct that? Well, I was preparing 3 options. Let's call it 3 paths to victory. The first is very simple. Let's say we don't have enough money. Well, guess what? Let's have more money. That's beautiful, because if we do that, for sure it's going to work. But the problem is that money isn't really coming from the trees and doesn't happen by magic. So I'd say that that's nice, but not possible. The second option would be to increase our revenue as a water sector. So to say, maybe the water bills are not high enough, we can raise the tariff and that way get more money inside. But if you're a politician and you say, hey, why don't we double the price of water? Do you think you get re-elected? I would highly doubt that. And that is, of course, a big constraint, which means that putting the water tariffs a bit higher, not just because we want to do it, but because that's the real cost, it's simply not going to be accepted. So that leaves us with a third and last option, which is to say, hey, why don't we simply cut the cost? Why don't we do more with less? Why don't we operate differently? Why don't we shift the paradigm? And I think what we will be discussing today is going to be a lot around that. I brought it back to SDG 6. Björn, do you have solutions for us?
Well, let's jump a step back. I mean, you are the master of numbers. What I have found, Antoine, is a study in the US, which is saying, hey, if we spend $1 just in the basic service, right, we will get $7 back in form of, let's say, we have higher productivity and definitely we have less medical health to give to the people. So the ratio was 1 to 7. And I was thinking, hey, if the math is so easy, but you, as I said, you are somehow the master. Is that somehow right?
So absolutely, you're fully right. The figure you're referring to, there are several studies. You have the World Health Organization that had a look at how much does it cost to take a life. I mean, that sounds terrible, but it is a way to calculate it. How much does it cost if someone is too sick to work? How much does it cost if you have to take 60 minutes a day to go look for water? You're not doing something else. And if you take all of those together, you have this 7 to 1 from some studies, or they say 4 to 1. I mean, the lowest number I've seen is 4 to 1. And the highest I've seen is really a study that was done on the sub-Saharan area. And they were saying that for $1 invested there, you get $68 out. So imagine 1 to 68. So on the paper, it is a wonderful opportunity, but it's like everything. If I had 1 million and I'm the best trader there is on the stock exchange, probably I'll make 12 million. But the thing is, if I don't have that million to start with, well, I just cannot do anything. So I'm now taking a stupid example, but that's the position in which the water sector is right now. We don't have that initial set of several tens of billions to invest so that we can take this 7 to 1. And the problem is that you're fully right with the 7 to 1, but it's not like me putting 1 and getting 7. It's me putting 1 and the society as a whole taking 7 back, which means that it's difficult for me to reap those benefits directly. I mean, if someone is not sick, nice for him, but what do I get in my pocket? It's difficult to translate directly. I'm sorry, because what I'm saying now is really a weird way to present it, but that's the reality of the things.
So let's say before we come to, I would not call it solution, but let's say our ideas, let's put a little bit the finger into the wound, right? I mean, we have the responsibility for our industry. I mean, we are, Antoine and I, we stand here with you guys from the audience. We are from the water industry. So isn't it our responsibility to take maybe a deeper look, especially into SDG 6? But let's say, let's do this for a moment, right? The issue I have found is that it is used in a different, or let's say wrong way. A small example in the beginning. We have talked about SDG 6, so that means there are other goals as well. And take number 2, which means is zero hunger. I don't know any supermarket who's claiming that they achieving number 2 due to the fact that they are selling food. But exactly this is the argument of many water companies in our industry who are saying, hey, we are achieving number 6 due to the fact that we are in the water industry, that we are building system. We have a pump which comes to which comes to a system which is treating water or wastewater. Guys, this is, I think, and we think, it is definitely not the right way to do this, to use, let's say, to achieve the goals UN SDG 6 means. I mean, there are some sub-goals, and I would like to jump a little bit into the sub-goals. I mean, Antoine mentioned the first two of them. I mean, to achieve access to safe and affordable drinking water, to access to sanitation for all, also to improve water quality worldwide, reduce water scarcity, implement integration water resources management, and protect and restore water-connected ecosystems. So the big question I have, or let's say the elephant which is actually in the room, why is the water industry, or why are so many companies are just claiming without doing anything? Is it because of the people? I was thinking to myself, I said, no, the people, the employees know very well what the company is doing and what not. So it is definitely not for them. But there's a different, I call it stakeholder for each and every company, which are the finance investors. So each finance brochure I have seen over the last months and years from several water companies, they are claiming the SDG 6, even if they don't do anything. So they do this for the finance investors. I mean, I could name a few companies, which I don't want, right, for the moment, which are doing this. I think this is not fair. But the point is...
But can you blame them for doing that?
No.
Can you blame them to try to have their investors helping them in achieving it? So maybe they're not doing anything today because they don't have access to that money. But if the finance guys start to like what they do, maybe they can achieve a bit more. You see, it's a bit
no.
of
But let's say if I say I do this and I don't do this to get the money to do this, I think it's not the right approach. Right? You should be very clear in your argumentation where you are and where do you want to go. So that means if you have the goal that you say, hey, I want to build 1 million equivalent in wastewater treatment plants to protect our rivers, you have to name that. And you can't say, hey, I claim actually SDG 6 to get some more money out from the investors. Right? But the point is here, Antoine, I mean, we as industry, we have all the technology, we have the knowledge to really solve the global issue. So why don't we act as a role model for other industries? That is the question I have.
So,
not sure that you have an answer.
No, there's many things in what you just said. But right before we dive a bit deeper, I'd like to take the comment from Arne before we move on, because I think that one will not come back in the discussion. So let's take it now. Because it's a very valid point. I think that reacts to what I was saying about the price. It is true that water is a human right. And if you look at the human right in total, it says that the human right is for affordable water. So we have the right as humans for affordable water. Now the full question is, what is affordable? What does affordable mean? And there were several studies which were conducted to say what is affordable. And usually the consensus is quite sad when you think of it, because we know that there are some incompressible costs. So when you try when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So you know that you have to treat your water. So you're looking, hey, what is affordable? Well, maybe they can pay 10% of their revenue. Would you pay 10% of your revenue? I highly doubt it. I tell you, me as a Western European, I would not pay 10% of my revenue for water. Björn does. Björn is ready to pay 10% of his revenue because that's part of his mission. But if you take the average of people, probably they're not ready. So affordability usually is considered to be between 2 and 3%. But if really we were paying water at 2 to 3% of our revenues, for most of the areas in the world, I mean, there are 2 areas in the world where that would not cover the cost. That's Sub-Saharan and Southern Asia. If you take those 2 areas away, all the other areas in the world, more or less, would be covering their costs. An area like Europe or the US would be so much exceeding of their incomes that probably they could afford to invest. So you're fully right, and that is another elephant in the room. We cannot just say let's put more money if there's not more money. But affordability itself is a concept which is quite difficult to grasp. And now let me bring that back on track to what you just said, Björn. The problem we have, which is built within the SDG 6, is that before looking at ways to improve, we have to look at ways to maintain what we already have. And that is already a problem. When you see that all these countries do worse in 2030 than what they do today, it's not because they are sitting on their hands like that. It's not that. It's simply because population keeps to grow and infrastructure is aging. For decades, we've not invested what we should have invested in infrastructure, which means at some point you have a problem. You simply have a problem. Your operating costs, if you look at the way that utilities cover their costs with what they earn, at best, they cover 80% of their cost. So what happens? I mean, you're covering 80% of your cost. I mean, put yourself, at home. If I was just paying back 80% of my mortgage on my house, the second month, my banker comes and says, now the house belongs to me. So you see, that is the problem we're facing today. So just to reframe a bit the stuff. And then, of course, we can say that companies claim that there are billions of people out there. But it's logical as well. The Sustainable Development Goals altogether, it's $12 trillion a year of an economic opportunity. So then it's the chicken and egg. Do you first invest to reap the benefits, or do you wait for the benefits to do something? I agree with you. We should be proactive, but it's 10% of the world's economy that we can create almost from scratch if we do good. It's not like being the devil guy and smoking some cigars. It's about doing good and growing the economy, the world's economy, from 10%. What's wrong with that? And still, we don't have aliens that we can take money from that would lend us some money to do it. So, yeah, it's quite a tricky equation.
But before we coming to the industry, and I would like to highlight two examples I really found. I would like to come back, and even Rick was a little bit mentioning the question in the chat is, and what about the tariffs? What about the tariffs? You already said in your introduction, well, doesn't really work. The question is, or let's say the other question, I couldn't find an answer so far over the last years. The water industry is, why do we in rich water countries like Germany, like France, like UK, we are full of water, right? Unfortunately, we haven't that really seen some weeks ago. Why do we pay the highest tariffs? While in other countries where they are scared, or let's say faced with water scarcity, where it is so much funded by the government, that doesn't really make sense. The point is, we are faced, due to the high tariffs, to save water, right? Because I'm paying here in Germany, I'm paying 6 to 7 euros for 1,000 liter, which is somehow the same with you in France. But I know countries where it is subsidized by the governments, where they pay less than $1. So it doesn't make sense, because if they don't have any water, they are not, forced to save the water. That doesn't make any sense to me.
There are many elements in that. There's a very, I'll say funny. It's not funny, but at the end of the day, it's funny. No. There's a funny example in Germany where they did these tariffs to incentivize people to reduce their consumption. And people did. They reduced their consumption drastically. And as a result, the cost of the water went up and the cost for the utility went up, simply because the full system was designed for a certain flow. And if the flow wasn't met anymore, well, they had a problem. So just to say that tariffs is a part of the thing. And I'll take that one as well, because that goes a bit in the direction where I wanted to go. A part of the taxes go to it, but that is indirect. You have also a vast array of money that was supposed to go to water that doesn't go to water. And I'm only scratching the surface of corruption. I think it's going to be hard to go very in-depth today, but that is also one of the issues. There are countries and countries like France, where that might be an issue. So it's not really a third world issue. And in terms of tariffs, you even have countries which do something which are counterintuitive. I'm sorry for the US guys in the chat, but I think the US are today one of the few countries that have this reverse tariff of water, that if you consume more, it's going to cost less. So that is for sure not the right message to send. But there are also studies, because it's not only about people and the money that they spend. It's also about how many non-revenue water do you have in your system? How many water are you wasting? Because if you waste water, how can you tell to people, hey, you should be more careful with your showers if you're already losing like 20% of your water on your network? So it's a full circle.
Exactly. I mean, I think we will not find the answer right now with the tariffs, but it's a very interesting. And even Pompilia said that, I mean, she's living in Bahrain, that even there the water price, and I know this from the surrounding countries there as well, are very, very, very cheap, right? So because it's subsidized by the government. But I don't want to lose too much time here in this topic. I would like to jump back a little bit to our industry, right? Because we are from our industry, and I put the finger into the wound and said, hey guys, be careful in saying that you achieving SDG 6, and because even if you do nothing, that doesn't make any sense. So, but I would like to put two lighthouse companies, or let's say the first example I would give is from a company we all know. Give me a second, I forgot to share the screen. It's from a company we all know, which was a little bit in the spotlight over the last months due to the fact that Suez belongs now to Veolia, right? Veolia purchased them. But what I found is a little... Say again?
Not yet.
Not yet, but anyway, it's almost done. I don't want to open this box again. But what I found is very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. I mean, some people are saying, I was talking to someone who was saying, hey, this is somehow greenwashing, but at least this is more than other companies are doing. And what Suez was doing is they took a roadmap from 17 to 2021. I'm not sure why they have used 21. Maybe there was still in mind, maybe in 21 Veolia will come. But anyway, I would like to go in, because what they did is they defined actions to achieve somehow the goals, right? And this was a pretty interesting bit, because you can't find many companies who really define goals to achieve the SDG 6. So if we go here in, for instance, this is the opener and a little bit some text, blah, blah, blah. You can see here all the goals, all the actions they have for all the UN SDG goals, right? I mean, I'm just concentrating on number 6. So let's find number 6 and the things they do. Here it is. You will find that one of their objectives is systematically offer to our customers plans of resilience to the effect of climate change, whatever that means. I mean, there's a lot of room for, what does that mean? But at least there's something. Promote the different usages of water by multiplying by 3 our alternative water production capacity by 2030. So this is definitely a goal, right? So they want to multiply their alternative water productions. So, and moreover, they are saying, hey, we want to save from 17 to 21, we want to save the equivalent of water consumption of a city of more than 2 million inhabitants. So at least that is something what you can achieve. And even if you go here, this comes a little bit for achieve a ratio of 2 tons of waste for reuse, every ton of waste that is disposed of. And even further,
I have to address the elephant in the room here, and I have to be the devil's advocate. I would love that.
You're saying the greenwasher, right?
Yeah, I'm sure Suez does that with the best intention in the world. I'm not judging the intentions, really not. Don't take me wrong, but
yeah,
Suez has shareholders. Suez has to give results to the stock exchange.
Correct.
Would they do that if they were losing money on doing it? I doubt it. The reason why I'm highlighting that is that when you look at these initiatives, usually there are 2 types of initiatives. The ones which are supported by development banks or by NGOs. So those are the shiny elements. It's not necessarily helping on the long run, or not to the scale that would be needed to achieve it. And then you have also a fact, which is when you have utilities, whatever part of the world which have a good way to make people pay the bills, that everybody is concerned about it, that creates a virtuous circle. And then companies are ready to invest there because it's a low risk and they know it's going to work. So I'm not saying that should be avoided. And I'm not saying that Suez is doing that with bad intentions, really not. But that is not solving the problem. I mean,
I agree with you. All I'm saying is, dear Mr. Antoine, that at least they do something to go into the right direction. And is one of the few companies only who have put some objectives into a plan and they measure this, right? Even if these are very soft objectives. But I will come, let me finish. And maybe the last one, especially the last one, we can discuss. So what else that I found here? It was a little bit even more. The air emission doesn't count. We are the water industry. So, but here, increase the capacity of wastewater treatment plants equipped with a system to treat microplastic. Do you know what that is, Antoine? To 1 million population equivalent. So this is especially. Suez, even if Suez doing this, if they equip 1 million equivalent, they earn money with that because that's the nature of the business and they have to do this, right? But at least it helps a little bit.
Björn, that is a nice.
No.
Let me quote you the word.
No. Let me finish that. We don't have the Joker card today.
One sentence from the World Bank. The World Bank wrote, private finance is almost non-existent in the water and sanitation infrastructure spending. So whatever they write here, and not Suez specifically, but whatever a private company writes here is not happening on its own. It's happening if it's maybe a private-public partnership, maybe a design-build-operate contract, maybe a state program, but not because you put a goal in your brochure. That is exactly what you were starting with. You were starting by saying, we do that for investors. Yes, exactly. They do that for investors. And they're right to do it.
And again, here's my French friend. Here's my French friend who is always stopping me before I coming to the real point. They also allocating 4 million a year to the Suez Initiative Fund. And every year they support more than 30 projects dedicated to improve access to essential services in countries with the greatest need. And I read the report from 2020. So this is the latest one from last year. And based on that report, Suez supported in total 6.2 million people, mostly in Africa, with selected water and wastewater projects. So definitely they did something.
Okay. I think that's where we disagree, Björn, because I'm not saying that this is bad. I would be a terrible person if I was saying that. But do you know John Elkington?
Unfortunately not.
John Elkington is the guy that theorized the concept of sustainable development. He was the guy that coined the sentence and that builds this triple bottom. So
is that a new book you read already?
No, no. I'm coming to that later. But John Elkington did this triple bottom, which is economy, social, environmental. And he said that sustainable development is when you use those three pillars, you build them together, and that is what gives you sustainability on the long run. If you want to have a deep dive, it's not a book. You shall listen to my interview with Alice Schmidt and Claudia Winkler. But I'm closing here the promotion part. What I wanted to say with that is that that book must be something like 20 years ago that he created the concept, roughly speaking. John Elkington, 2 years ago, wrote an article in the Harvard Business Review saying that exactly like industrials, when they create something that fails, they do a product recall. He's making a recall on his sustainable development concept. He's recalling the concept. He's saying, stop, wait, it's defective, forget about it, that doesn't exist anymore, I take it back. And the reason why he said that is that he noticed how companies were using sustainable development as an excuse to saying, we keep doing business as usual, and then we put a little bit of social here, and then we put a little bit of environmental there, and then we say triple bottom. And it's not triple bottom. Triple bottom is all about finding a problem, a societal problem, solving that problem societally, solving the climate change, solving access to water, and getting a reward out of it as a byproduct, and that reward is business. But business has to move out from the center. So when I'm sorry, all my lights start to tinkle when I hear you saying, "Hey, investing some millions to do this, wonderful." I'm not doing that; they're doing it, so they're much better persons than I am. But compared to the size of Suez, investing some millions is not what the government would do. Is not what the country would do. I mean, I'm just putting things in context.
Okay, so that means microplastic is not a related issue we should solve. You don't think so?
I think if we come back to microplastics and micropollutants and whatever you want to put
microplastics. Sorry.
Box, I think here it's not about what we're talking about with the SDG 6. And I think I mentioned the Millennium Development Goals. The Millennium Development Goals that were supposed to be achieved by 2015 had as a target to have improved water. And improve is very convenient because you have like the worst water there is, full of Escherichia coli and coliforms and whatever you want. You put it through a sand filter. Those bacteria are still inside, but you have less suspended solids, and your water is improved. So you met the goal. So you see, that's what we are discussing here. It's long before talking of microplastics. So
okay, but what about the 4 million? So you say it doesn't count?
I'm not saying it doesn't count. I'm saying
okay.
There is
good to hear.
Scale effect. When I'm saying that the Sustainable Development Goals are a 12 trillion opportunities, that means it's 3 million times larger than the 4 millions you're mentioning here. It's just a matter of adding zeros to the thing and zooming out to see what is the overall picture.
But wouldn't it help, let's say, if every company is doing an initiative as Suez and saying, hey, let's take part of my profit, put it into a funding to donate the projects where we need the basic service. Wouldn't that help to come to the number you are looking for? I mean, you're just claiming, the 4 million is just that little for so much. You're right. But let's say if you don't start as a role model for others, nothing will happen.
You're right. You're right. No, you're right. I think I'm not wrong neither. But the thing is, it's a matter of incremental change versus disruption. When you say you want to bring 4 billion people from living in waterborne diseases, having to deal with that every day, having malnutrition as a result of lack of clean water, having all this stuff that we know about the consequences of having bad quality of water, to them, incremental change is not going to help them. I mean, we're still going to see hundreds of millions of people displaced by water scarcity. We're still going to see cities which are emptied just because the problem is not solved on a structural level. So if everybody was to, I mean, it's the hummingbird metaphor. If everybody was to do its part, then it's going to work. Sure. Then Suez and its 4 millions are leading the way, and it's a role model. And if we can replicate that, that is one path. What I'm saying is that even if we don't kill that path, we should keep putting pressure on a macro level,
absolutely,
on a continent level, on a world level, to say, guys, we have to walk the talk. We cannot just say, hey, SDG 6, oh no, we're in 2030, we missed it. Let's invent a new goal for 2050 and let's miss that one as well. And let's invent a new one for 2070 and so far and so on. I mean, that is just not sustainable.
You're right, but maybe I think you're 100% right. But maybe you like my second example a little bit more than the Suez one, right? Because my second company I found in our water industry is saying the water crisis is too big for any one organization to solve alone. So, and no answer on that? Okay.
No, I couldn't agree more.
So what the company I'm talking about is the company Xylem. So the company Xylem, they do have, let me share this again. They do have a water program, right? They call it a watermark program. And this program is to work with nonprofit partners on sustainable development projects that provide education and protect safe water resources for communities around the world. And here comes the really huge thing for me, from my perspective. Furthermore, they encourage their own employees and stakeholders to take action to address global water challenges by volunteering their time, providing a pro bono, that means exchange without money, donating in-kind technologies and product, and making corporate matched monetary donations. So that was huge to me, because they encourage their own people, their stakeholders, to do something, and they give their people the time to go to the countries to help. So this was pretty cool. And even they have this program that they double the funding they receive for projects like this. This was one thing. And the other thing is that you can fund directly the projects. So, and if I'm coming back to the point that our companies, do a lot of money and even a lot of profit, what is $15,500 for a company mid-size, right? Because with that money, you can fund an aqua tower community water system, which is for 1,800 people per day. What about $16,500 for a 4-stage water purification process for emergencies, for if you have a disaster or any other emergencies, or $2,500 for an aqua home drinking water system? What is this money for a company which is making tons of profit?
Well,
how do you like this?
I'll tell you why I really like this. And
okay,
again,
he likes it. Amen.
It was not to be mean about my former friends of Suez, really not. But here's why I like that approach, and I'll show you a simple number to show you why I like that. So I also did my homework, and there is this element of gold plating. And then I come back to your Xylem example. You'll see the link. Gold plating is when you have one thing that you have to solve, and you forget the element of affordability, and you just do it the best you want. So it's with the best intentions in the world, but you might end up doing something which is a bit too expensive and which is not cost effective. And that's what happened in Europe when Europe adopted the European Union Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. You had 4 countries that had roughly the same infrastructure existing: Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, and Austria. And they all went to the same level to deliver the same services. But in Austria, it costed almost 1,200 euros per capita per year, while in the Netherlands, it costed only 170 euro per capita per year, for basically the same approach. The only difference is that the Dutch have done that with this element of cost efficiency in mind. So what's the link with Xylem? When you hear that the world needs water for all, what you imagine, or what I do imagine, I'm now talking for me as a Western European, is a tap with clean drinking water in my kitchen. And that is something which I know is going to work. But that's probably also extremely expensive for what it is if you have to really start from scratch to build the infrastructure, to maintain the infrastructure, and all that, really to have drinking water all the way long. So what you're showing here with this aqua tower is what is called point of use treatment. I mean, point of use can be under your sink, or can be here, in that case, in the middle of the town. And when we say that we want to have safe water, which is just near to the people, that they have access doesn't necessarily mean in your kitchen. It may be that you still have to do 50 meters. Of course, it's not the same level of service than if you have it in your kitchen, but it's much better than having to walk 50 kilometers to have something which is not a good source of water. So that is the kind of shift of paradigm which is very important, because if we do that, if we go to that doesn't mean that we do a low cost thing. It just means we can do much more for the same amount of money. And that makes a huge difference, because if you look at the path on which we are today, by 2030, if we want to reach as close as possible to the UN SDG 6, we will be spending worldwide more money on bottled water than we are spending money on utility water. And bottled water is incredibly expensive. bottled water is about 10 times more expensive per liter than what you show here with your Aquatower from Xylem or any kind of similar technology that you see, which is doing point of use treatment. So if we go to point of use, that doesn't mean that we do, hey, cheap and it's bad. It means that we can do 10 times more for the same amount of money. And we know that we're not going to receive that gold plate in every country in the world that we can do anything. So here, Björn, bravo. You underlined a very cool initiative, and that is really something which goes in the right direction, in my very, very, very humble opinion.
That's a very cool thing, because at first time I see that you are fighting with passion for something, right? So, and that you say that you are saying that I'm totally right, that I'm saying totally right. But let's jump back, make it more serious. I mean, Arne said something in the chat that even Grundfos did something, and they started years ago, which is, maybe you're right. I'm just took two examples from our industry I found very easily, on which impressed me. That doesn't mean that we don't have any more, right? And maybe even better, right? So don't get me wrong.
Grundfos is a brilliant example, because if you take what Grundfos does, I mean, one of the things Grundfos does, I'm not the expert in Grundfos, so sorry if I say something really stupid, but what I've read on Grundfos when preparing for that show is that they've made some initiatives in some countries to say, well, energy spent, so operating costs, a big part of it on the network is pumping cost. So can we optimize pumping? Can we replace one small pumps by two small pumps, or three small pumps by two large pumps? And if you do that, you start to have a better optimization of the operating cost, and also of the maintenance, because maybe you have to replace less often your pumps, maybe your full system is functional more often. And that goes in the same direction, which I was having as number 3. Number 1 was getting more money, number 2 was making the people pay for it, and number 3 was, hey, if we do more with less, we have to cut our costs somewhere. And cutting our costs where it's the most stupidly given out, for instance, in operating costs that we could avoid, is for sure something really cool. And that is a point where we have to surf some waves, like digitization wave, like smart water waves. And that is really something which is not only here for the buzzwords, it's here also because it brings a tremendous opportunity for doing better. But there's a major caveat, which I wanted to have. Oh, no, wait, because I had the comments ready for a while and I misclicked. I wanted to show that one, because that is something really important. We have to be all on that same boat. And if you have, and if we say something negative on Singapore, it's going to be the first time ever, because usually Singapore is the good pupil, the one which has 100% of people having access to water and sanitation, the one doing new water, the one, all of that. So I don't know about now Singapore specifically. So maybe, Alain, you know much more than me on that topic. But as soon as we subsidize water as a mean to do something, so because we want to, there was a big project in Saudi Arabia where they were sponsoring their agriculture because they wanted to be independent in terms of food. I understand that on a macro level, that you want as a country to produce your own food. But if you're in Saudi Arabia, irrigating your crop and taking fossil resources of water is for sure not a sustainable way to do it. So just to say, as soon as you decorrelate water from its value, again, in my very humble opinion, you have a problem.
Yeah, one more thing, one more sentence about Singapore. I mean, what they do is really great work, and they somehow for our industry is a kind of lighthouse country. But there's one big but. This country exists since many years, but let's say they have reached a level over the last 20-30 years. So they built all the infrastructure over the last 20-30 years to come to the point where they are at the moment. Think about countries like France, Germany, UK, or the other old countries, or even the US is even older, right? So they built their infrastructure for the basic service even before that time. So they have to spend a lot of money to refurbish, to renew, to make sure that they are up to date. They can't go directly from where we are at the moment, from the technology part of view, right? So that's a little bit the difference, but they do a great job, and everybody should look there, because even there, some very, very smart ideas are coming from Singapore and from countries like this.
Another elephant in the room that we didn't take so far is non-revenue water, because again, if you think of optimizing the way you work, non-revenue water, if you take only the one, not saying that we cut it down to zero, but let's say that we reduce it to a level which is achievable. Some studies show that it's about $50 billion a year of savings, solving the non-revenue water. And when I say solving, it's not going from the 20 you have in the UK to zero, or from the 5 you have in Germany to zero. It's really saying we take the biggest issue and we look at the cost to repair, and we look at the benefits, and we only go up to the point where it crosses, and as soon as it's more expensive to repair than it is to keep it leaking, well, we let it leak. So I'm just saying that is not an imaginary figure. 50 billion, if you remember, that's already 3 times more than what we are spending today worldwide to achieve SDG 6. So if we would solve non-revenue water, we would be helping tremendously to finance the rest of SDG 6.
Yeah, absolutely. We are coming a little bit to our end of the session, but I don't want to,
No, we're not.
No, wait. I don't want to give the impression that only the big companies as Xylem, as Suez, as Grundfos, or name some others can do things which have an impact, right? And that's why I would like to talk about what all companies could do. I mean, we already said this. I mean, you can donate part of your profit to some projects, but even if you don't have, for instance, the money and the profit, you could donate, for instance, your know-how, your engineering, or your material, or also you could do. You can build synergies with other companies to be a role model for other industry that you are working together to try to solve a big problem we have already. So be a role model. This could be also a very, very important, right? So there is, for each and every company is able to do something to help, to support, to achieve the SDG 6. One more thing before we are maybe taking Carlos, quote. Do you know what plugging means, Antoine?
No, and you've teased me when we were preparing, so now I want to know.
That's a crazy thing, and I saw this the first time in the US without getting an idea that this is plugging. But that means it is a green fitness craze that started in Sweden, which combines jogging and walking. And during this, they're picking the trash. That is named plugging. So by picking up litter that often flows into storm drains and waterways, and everybody can do something. All you need is maybe some glove and some trash bags. So we all can do something against microplastic if we get rid of the microplastic. So, and this was so interesting for me, because I sometimes see pictures from the US, and they are definitely a role model for that they run with their company with a bunch of people from the team over the highway, and they collect all the stuff. And I think, guys, this is something really great, and we should take plugging, right? We should take plugging into our region or into every company. Why not doing this once a year with a bunch of people? This helps to achieve the goals.
I think that reminds me of the Maslow Pyramid of your basic needs. And what it tells me is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So we can be discussing as much as we want about how we want to achieve this, as long as it's not cultural to care for water, as it's not cultural to look at all the stuff, well, we will lose. So what you say is absolutely right. It's a matter of making it cool and funny. And sometimes, I've heard so many times this that we should take a shorter shower. I mean, when I was a little kid, I heard that we have to take shorter shower. And then I discussed several weeks ago with an inventor on my podcast who was saying, I'm just putting it in plain sight. I'm putting it there, and you see how many liters you've spent. And just the fact that you see it, it becomes a game that you say, hey, yesterday I had 30 liters in my shower. What if tomorrow I have 29? And what if the day after I have 28? And it's those stupid things. We have to think of it. We are all humans with all our cognitive bias. And if we want to build together that story and to reach it and ensure that doesn't prevent us from doing what Carlos is saying here, which is we have to make countries accountable. We have to bring that forward. But put yourself in the shoes of the politicians. If you want to convince them, if you want them to take the torch, you need to have the start of a movement in the population. If we don't initiate that, if we don't tell the right stories, if we don't show the right role models, to take your very valid point, Björn, then it's simply not going to happen. I would love to see it happen, but I think that's the other sentence we had when we were preparing for that show. It's the Einstein sentence. If you keep doing stupid things, you keep getting stupid results. We have to change the way we address it, and that might be shifting the paradigm with point of use treatment. That might be changing the way we approach it. That might be finding in our own pockets the money we need to cover for the cost of the water sector. But that is really, really the thing which is on our table.
And if you know, I mean, the example with the shower was great because we see it every day. If we go with our car somewhere, we see the sign how fast we are driving, and there are studies who have proven that this works, that the people drive slower. And so it's the same with the shower. So great example. Anyway, are we coming the last 4 minutes to our last section, Antoine?
I could do 2 more hours, but I'm with the German guys who have to keep the schedule on track. So let's go to our closing.
Yes, you have
section.
to be.
What's in the news this month?
So please, Björn, don't mind. I'll start, and then you can be serious with your topic. My topic in the news, and we debate it because to Björn it's not in the news, but my topic in the news is a book written by a guy called David Lloyd Owen. He has his own consultancy, but he's also a contributor to Global Water Intelligence. And I don't have it in physical form next to me. I've ordered it, but it's not yet arrived. So I have it here on my Kindle. And if you like the content that we've shared today, I mean, if you like to dive a bit deeper in the topic, he's really addressing all of that, and he has like plenty of examples showing what's wrong, what's right, what's the path to success, how to do it. And he has a very interesting point on saying that let's not lie to ourselves. Let's not say that we're going to achieve SDG 6 by 2030. It's not happening. But let's make everything together so that we achieve it by 2050. So read it and then come to me and tell me what you thought about it. And now, Björn, you can be talking about something else in the book. Sorry for that.
Yeah, the issue is always, I mean, the section means what was in the news, which was related to the water industry, and you're coming with a book. The question I already have is, I mean, what is the action you're taking out of the book? But I mean, this is another episode. Yeah, I mean, what was really in the news, what really affects us from the water industry? I mean, there was just one topic, right? The 2021 European floods. And since 12th July 2021, several European countries have been affected by floods. Some were catastrophic, caused deaths and widespread damage. So it was a horrible situation. The flood started already in UK, and flash floods causing some property damages and inconvenience. Later floods affected several rivers basins across northern and central Europe, and including Austria, Belgium, Croatia, Germany, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Switzerland, Italy. At least 230 people died in the floods, which is an incredible number, right? Inside just 24 hours, with a focus on the 14th of July, more than 150 liters per square meter fell in some places. The German weather services was saying, okay, the return period of such an event is most probably 100 years, more likely 1,000 years. Yeah, and the critics we already had was a warning system which didn't work really, especially not in Germany. The evacuations didn't really work well. So this was really in the news, and maybe it's a teaser for our next episode, because I know that we are trying a little bit to domestic the nature, really, right, Antoine? I know that is a topic, and that you have a popular family member which is an expert in this topic.
I was going to say exactly that. I think we will not be able to debate that in the half a minute which is left to today, but that might be a topic for tomorrow, because it is something. I mean, when I started walking, the first thing I went was visiting some floods with my father. So I think it's the kind of thing which is quite close to my heart. But if that is of interest for you as well, for the people watching this, just let us know. And I think both Björn and me would be very happy to make a deep dive on that topic. I think the elements that we would be discussing here would be how sometimes, and we are both engineers, when you're an engineer, you can be a bit arrogant and think that you can be stronger than nature. And when you get events like the one we see this summer, well, you get reminded that you're not stronger than nature, and that it makes about sense to think how to work with nature, how to imitate what nature has spent millions of years of R&D to develop. And I think that's the kind of thing which would for sure make for another episode, where it would be very hard to pack everything within 1 hour.
Okay, so let's say to finish this episode today, and I'm happy that so many people really watched, and I wish you all the best, and so on and so on. But to conclude a little bit with a statement I recently heard, which was said by Ted Lasso. Do you know Ted Lasso, Antoine?
It's a TV show, right?
It's a TV show. It's a football trainer in UK from the US, and he was saying to one of his player, or he asking him, which animal is the happiest in the world? And the answer is the goldfish, because it's got a 10-second memory. So let's make sure that we are not goldfish and forgot about the needed action to achieve the goals.
Well, that's a perfect conclusion, Björn. I won't be able to do any better. So let's close on that one. Thanks, everyone, for having been with us in the past hour. If you want to take on the discussion, we can continue the discussion over LinkedIn whenever you want. And see you next month.
Take care. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Björn. That was it for another episode of Time for Wastewater. So, what would you like us to debate next? Which water topic shall we put under the spot? Did you like it or did you hate it? And last but not least, is there a matter where you feel your expertise might be a fantastic fit on this stage? Come tell us on LinkedIn. We welcome and praise any feedback. So don't be shy, and see you next month.